Good afternoon to each and every one of you present here. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome each and every one of you from the Indian School Wadi Kabir, the Indian School Wadi Kabir International, and the Indian School Sohar on behalf of SETAL to this webinar on future paradigms and education. Before we begin, I would like to introduce to you our speaker for today, Dr. Moses. Dr. Moses has been a professional in the field of international education for almost 15 years. He has been managing reputed international schools, international baccalaureate schools, as well as developing collaborations between IB schools and universities worldwide. He is qualified with an interdisciplinary PhD, has published several research papers, and is on the editorial board of the International Journal of Psychology and Neuroscience. Dr. Moses is currently engaged as a Director, Business Development and Partnerships, Indus Trust. He is focused on capacity building of new innovation projects at the Indus headquarters at Bangalore. He is also on the IB Advisory Committee at Christ University and earlier was an associate professor in the Department of Education at Christ University. He also launched India's first online blended postgraduate diploma in international education as a one-year program fully accredited to the IBO. He is currently an academic dean and associate director, Global Challenges Forum Foundation, Switzerland, working in partnership with the United Nations Institute of Training and Research. He also continues to be the international representative for the Oral Roberts University, USA, and was earlier the assistant professor at this university. He has worked collaboratively with 5 British and 1 American university, and his areas of interest are philosophy, theology, chronobiology, and international education, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We are extremely happy to have you on board with us, sir. We welcome you once again. Sir, over to you. Moses, sir.
Very good afternoon. Greetings from India. Mr. Nazim Qureshi, Director for the Center of Excellence for Teaching and Learning. Ms. Avni Ved, my previous colleague from Christ University, and faculty, teachers, the diaspora from India based in the Middle East, and teachers at the schools in Muscat. Thank you for the opportunity for inviting me as a keynote speaker for this very apt presentation titled Future Paradigms and Education. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate you for the excellent initiative in faculty development that you have taken at your institutions. I think I am impressed at the amount of time and investment that has gone in putting up all the plans to sustain capacity building for your teachers. Today, I'm going to unravel the future and the paradigms of the future as they will shape up, keeping in mind changing technologies, changing education systems, changing societal and civilizational systems, government systems, changing climate, and then how can education cope up with this, changing adult generation and changing millennial and alpha generations. First and foremost, I would like to thank and acknowledge the excellent efforts of Lieutenant General Arjun Ray, Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director for the Indus Trust that manages the Indus International Schools Training and Research Institute, various other institutions, and have launched the innovation projects at the headquarters, which are looking at artificial intelligence, absolutely new school of the future, and also various initiatives on life entrepreneurship through an online dual school. In my deliberations with him, he gave a lot of insight on the different terminologies and phraseology of the future. So as a futurist, he's a mentor and a leader and a management expert who has inspired and infused in me a passion for thinking about the future, thinking out of the bubble, and helping to co-create a better future. I also like to acknowledge my elders, who are spiritual leaders and apostles in religious institutions, as well as mentors who have a prophetic anointing for this generation. I'll go ahead and present you these slides and the information I think would be out of the box thinking. So bear with me and ask me questions after I finish my presentation. So when we look at the concept of what is the future, what is the today, what is the tomorrow, we are moving from Anthropocene to Novacene, the age of Anthropocene to the age of Novacene. The Anthropocene is the era in which human beings, that is us, are able to make large-scale alterations on the planetary environment. That being said, I don't think we have done a very good job. Neither have our generations previously. You can see the situation, large-scale planetary systems, climatic situations, because of whatever, urbanization, globalization. You can see the situations. There's good and there's not so very good situations. The Novacene is the age of tomorrow. This new age will be marked by unpredictable marvels to be unleashed by hyper-intelligent robots. These are cyborgs, and the artificial intelligence take over. This was postulated by the book by James Lovelock in his book Novacene. In 2019, he has very, I would say, very well elucidated and brought about an exposition of what the Novacene is going to look like. And that's the new scene. And we are going to get to that, and we're going to co-create and help that creation process in our educational institutions. He did a lot of work on asteroids, Gaia theory, and the cyborg revolution. And if you want more information, you can read his book. Of course, the age of singularity. And Ray Kurzweil is the chancellor of the Singularity University. In 2005, he postulated the hypothetical future of creation of super intelligent machines that will co-create and blend in with human beings, and where these machines will probably be intelligent, more intelligent than human beings. And this will probably create a situation where humanity undergoes a very dramatic and irreversible change. And he's talking about a timeline. He's even talking about 2045, an event which will be so disruptive that it will totally transform human society. So in his book, he has written, "The Singularity is Near." And you can even look it up, and various developed countries are hurtling towards that situation. And it has ripple effects, as you know. Now, how can we really measure the concept of singularity? Is this true? Is this just a hypothetical situation, or can this be measured? So singularity basically assumes the speed of everything will increase so fast and faster until it gets too fast for the human brain to randomly comprehend information processing. We are not built for that by nature. However, hyper-intelligent machines networked through AI and the internet can cope up with that kind of information processing, thereby giving them an evolutionary edge over humankind. That means robots will talk to robots. Machine thinking and GPT-3, they will acquire information, and they will come into classrooms. They will come into medical spheres. They're already there. Surgeries and nursing, robots that help with nursing, and you have robots doing chores and domestic work at home. They are there in automation industries. They're there in manufacturing industries. And the industrial revolution is going to take place, where automotive revolution is going to definitely define the future for human beings. Now, that being said, there's a lot of research and a scientific revolution in the concept of neuromorphic computing, which is talking about biodigital fusion. What is this? We're talking about the concept of AI, that is artificial intelligence, plus human intelligence gives rise to innovative intelligence. How does this happen? The human brain is hardwired with neurons in the brain that fire rapidly. And there are a lot of these intricate connections, and Because of this, we have cognitive ability, language processing, memory recall, speech, relationship building, nurturing, decision making, critical thinking. Now, neuromorphic computing is looking at certain neuronal connections being made on silicon chips that can fire equally faster in a small chip. And remember, these dendrites and neurons I'm talking about are in the brain. So they have replicated this on silicon chips that are implanted in robots, in laptops, microprocessing units, industries, etc. And when that goes back, that chip, if you put it in the brain, what happens? You have something known as biodigital fusion. Am I talking science fiction, or is it really happening? Because biodigital fusion will then create a new species of human beings, as well as relatively newer economic, natural, and ethical issues. And I'm not talking 50 or 100 years down the line. I'm talking about today. Elon Musk has introduced the Neuralink brain chip, which is what I mentioned, the concept of biodigital fusion, where this chip is introduced into the brain. It mimics rapid-fire neural connections that give supercognitive abilities. When implanted into the brain, there's this symbiotic relationship developed with artificial intelligence. That means you become supercomputer, you become like a superhuman. Are you a cyborg? I don't think so, but they can track your brain, they can monitor it, and they claim that it can cure diseases, neurogenetic diseases. They've tried it in animals. And this disruptive innovation is probably going to become enforced someday. As of now, it is, it's optional, you can buy it. But in future generations and civilizations, probably there may not be an option anymore. A lot of cool things you can do with it, yes. But like I said, artificial intelligence or any advent of new technologies can be used for good and can be used for evil. It depends on who is in charge. So the Novacene is going to have these implications in education and schools for all of us. A couple of 100 decades down the line, we will all be living with these robots and all these microchips and supercomputers. What is exciting is ANI, that is artificial narrow intelligence, and artificial general intelligence, and then artificial superintelligence. I am more interested in artificial emotional intelligence. What is artificial emotional intelligence? This is the broader term for machines replicating the way humans think with sensors. In machines, these are sensors that actually measure, understand, simulate, and respond to human emotions. So you can look at the emotions expressed by human beings down there, neutral, sad, angry, happy. They're actually giving you a level of measurement. That means that software, that sensor is measuring human emotions, measuring it to the extent of giving you an accurate scores, 2 levels, 1 or 2 scores, and an average of those scores, giving you a relational hypothesis of how your behavior will be modulated, how do you react to various situations. And this is actually being introduced in cybersecurity, in law enforcement, healthcare, mental health work, in education systems also, in classrooms, at homes. So we will have all these gadgets and tools in the Novacene coexisting with us, mapping and measuring us, modulating our behavior, lifestyles, and emotional conditioning on a very large scale. Now, can machines really love human beings? When we talk about artificial emotional intelligence, do you think robots and AI systems can actually love human beings when we introduce them in schools or in the workforce? Can it be controlled? Can it be stimulated, simulated? What about the evolutionary uncertainty? What about the risks involved? What about calculated risks involved? And the inference is yes, machines can empathize with human beings. They can empathize. They can talk to you. They can empathize. They can give you guidance and advice. and they can probably make your life better. Reciprocally, can human beings love machines? Do you think children love gadgets and robots? Do you think human beings can have extensions of Android systems, which are cyborgs, intelligent machines? So what is love? Is there a science to love? Can we coexist in the Novacene with all these hyper-intelligent, extraordinary machines surrounding us, working with us? Is there a science to love? Now, there's a lot of criticism of the concept of love, and recently it has fallen under the scrutiny of hard science and data and is moving out of the domain of the humanities. So it's not just a feeling anymore. There's more science to this, which is evolutionary, and its basis is psychological, neurological, physiological, and of course, biochemistry that is involved. A lot of research has been done by neuroscientists to show that human beings can actually fall in love with machines and gadgets. Look at the children who are hooked onto Android phones, iPads, Siris, Alexas, the new generation of teenagers, and we are teaching them. So we need to make sure that there isn't a generation gap between our thinking and their thinking, and our personality and their personalities. And how do we bridge it? Then if you're going to bridge it, is there a re-rolling of the teachers, reskilling, reevaluating of our psychology, our cultural mindset, because fixed mindsets won't help you grow. So if you look at the concept of how this is done, the functions and domain circuits can be replicated in human beings because of the amygdala, which is a sensor. And if you look at the human brain, it is hardwired for intelligence and for emotions, IQ, EQ. Similarly, robots, like human beings, can have artificial neural networks, for example, Google Brain, and so the Android or the cyborg or the robot will have both IQ and EQ and a sensor to talk to children, to interact, to engage, probably teach to a certain extent, do some work. And humans and these cyborgs will coexist in the Novacene, where humans use organic neural networks and robots use artificial neural networks to talk to each other. And there's going to be a crosstalk with machine thinking and advent of machines in an intelligent, innovative era. Of course, the whole science of this is expressed at the moment only between human beings, man and woman, children, adults, between pets, animals, birds. In the future, it's going to happen between humans and machines. And the advent of the man-machine interface is only changing and rapidly evolving in the future. A lot of research has been carried out on the study of emotions. A lot of exciting and interesting finding of artificial intelligence in education and the advent of the Novacene and the cusp and brink of an artificial intelligence revolution, the digital revolution coming into the workforce, into healthcare, into education. The India Robot Lab has launched the Eagle robot, and it's at version 4 now. Exciting opportunity to work with them and to understand how they have produced in-house a fantastic teaching robot that can teach in 17 languages, a number of subjects, you name it, physics, chemistry, biology, with digital animation. The robot makes presentations, can do assessment, voice and facial recognition, and the robot teaches the subject, content. What does the teacher do now? The teacher introduces the concept and then explains the application of the concept, the real life application, conducts group discussions, etc. But the robot can do excellent Q&A sessions with the students, engage with them, interact with them, talk to them. In the future, there's going to be LED with emotional recognition and mobility and a lot more machine intelligence, machine thinking, where each robot will have its own unique features. And this is right from primary up to teacher education. That means K-12, span of K-12, and getting into universities and colleges where robots will be assisting teachers. And this helps with teacher optimization. There's a complete re-rolling of the skill sets of teachers there. And unless we keep abreast with digital revolution, we will be phased out. It's better that we adapt and control digital revolution before it makes us obsolete, because knowledge is growing at a rapid pace. Like I said, singularity. Machines can cope with singularity. We may not be able to. Our brain is not hardwired for such random, rapid processing. Now, if you look at robots in the healthcare units, they're looking after patients in the hospital, carrying out surgeries, monitoring heart rate, monitoring their cycles, metabolic cycles, disease patterns, giving them medicines on time. They are being used for nursing the elderly and the older patients, and they're even looking after children at home, babysitting children, in fact. Yes. When children are addicted to these gadgets, why? Why are they? So are we supposed to live with this revolution, or are we supposed to cope with it, or supposed to phase it out? I think we're supposed to coexist and live with this change. This is the future, and we are at the advent of it. And the cusp of this revolution is in schools, with children, with teachers. So if you look at the term Generation Alpha, it refers to a group of students born before 2010 and 2025. This is the generation after Gen Z. So Generation Alpha prefers text and not human-to-human communication. They are the most globally connected generation of all time due to technology and the internet. They're digital natives, they're technology-minded, and mind you, not just technology-minded, they're tech-savvy. They can very capably and ably use technology. They've grown up with Alexa, Siri, and mobile apps as toys during childhood. There are already 2 billion alpha kids in the world. They will be the most economically successful generation of all time. They're studying in our schools. They are your children. They are children all over the world, whether they are in India or the Middle East or any part of the West or East, it doesn't matter. Generation Alpha are children below 12 years of age. So with this kind of a digital advent and with this kind of a complete scenario, how will we cope up as faculty members? So when we look at digital masters, the old-fashioned creative entrepreneurs, activists at home, and post-stereotypes, you can see the concept of how the advent of technology is making sense or not making sense to some people. So when you look at the concept of the future, we need to look at the trends that civilization will have and the generations will have, alpha generation will have, and how it will create a sort of a revolution for teachers, for educators, for administrators, for leaders, for social transformation, for government transformation, for policies. And we have to help this generation. We have to blend in with them because we are their teachers. We are educators. We are looking after their teaching and training, and we are teaching them how to survive, how to be independent. Now, what is the concept of transformation and why is it so essential in education? Because several hundreds of years have gone by, almost 500 years have gone by, and there really haven't been substantial reforms in education. Substantive changes have taken place in other fields, in medicine, in healthcare, in infrastructure development, in urbanization, in societal and national development, in global development, in software development. But not much change has taken place in schools. Why? A lot of research has gone into this and revealed some very startling and controversial findings. And a majority of the feedback showed that the children prefer that the teachers teach the child and connect with the human being, talk to them as human beings and not just teach the textbook and just the subject. Teachers were showing resistance against school reforms. That's very evident. They will always show resistance. They're not open to feedback. They prefer professional autonomy. They're not in favor of an open-mindedness where they can acquire more information. They're like, we know it all. We don't want to know more. This is it. We are here and we cannot improve. Neither will we allow somebody else to improve. A traditional mindset. They're not open to feedback, not in favor of continuous holistic development. They are dissociated from their performance from the students. They are resistant to change or feedback. Fear and stress factor is all pervasive in educational institutions even today. Schooling can be anti-creative. How can we work in a scenario like this? Management can be control freaks. They buy your time, they buy you out, they pay you a salary, but not understanding that you're independent human beings. How can you coexist with your own identity and with theirs? Meeting their expectations and you understanding that they have certain expectations and you've got to meet them halfway. Knowledge levels may be obsolete on all platforms. So futurism is hard pill to digest. Yes, tough nut to crack also. And there's a lot of resistance to change because some places it's happening at breakneck speed. People are keeping abreast. Some places it's slow. But is the advent there? Yes, there will be. Either you keep up with changing times or times will change you. Times will keep you as innovative and relevant, or then you will be outdated and irrelevant. You may not have the impetus you need to have to transform your own society. That being said, we need to look at a new form of schooling and education system. We need to have a new vocabulary for life, language of the syllabus. Language of the syllabus and the curriculum and the language of life is different. So the teacher may teach something, the child may not learn it. Why is English so important? Because we can build bridges, we can understand each other, we can travel. It's available online. It can bridge generational gaps, age gaps, civilizational gaps. We are looking at a common thread, but it's okay. We have our native tongues, which is great. We can relate to a smaller dimension of family and immediate relatives, which is okay. National boundaries there within that ecosystem, which is fine. But it's good to have a global overview of what the language of life is all about, why it's so important. The Davos report showed 46% of jobs today will be obsolete due to automation in the next 15 years. 56% of workers need to reskill, and 7 out of 10 will be in volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous scenarios and jobs. There's a rapid change and rate of acceleration. And this is here to stay and is just getting more and more volatile. Now, education that transitions from the industrial revolution to innovative revolution. Curriculum should not be mired in the past, and today's curriculum and syllabus is mired in the past. Rote memorization based on competitive examinations rather than life competencies, innovation, and skill set development. So there is a cultural and societal shift which is absolutely essential with competency-based curriculum in schools, which will be more creative for leadership development, for an innovative blend of mind. So we need to have a less traditional view of schools and teachers. Let's not have an infrastructure-minded mindset, which is going to limit you with a certain geography and boundary and four walls, chalk and talk. Let's look at it in a viewpoint which is more exponential, and artificial intelligence, online blended learning, mixed reality, artificial augmented reality can probably create an environment which is going to be more conducive for us to lessen our workload, subsidize the costs, and create ecosystems that will be more conducive and sustainable for teachers and students across the world. Can we personalize learning? Why not? Yes. We can have students studying on their own. Teachers don't need to necessarily teach the subject only. You can have algorithm-based courses, mathematical modeling, MOOC courses, expeditionary learning, blockchaining, e-credentialing. All this is happening in schools now, colleges, even tertiary education. There's a fair bit of change happening in different parts of the world. Concept of children do not go to school, but the school goes to the children. We all are in agreement of this when we talk and deliberate during our staff conferences at headquarters. And a lot of the people who are shaping the innovative culture at our institutions are in unanimous agreement that schools should teach what Google cannot teach. There should be a fair bit of self-directed learning, cognitive dissonance, relearning, and unlearning. So before we scratch out anything, we need to understand, we need to make scratches in our mind, because you know what? Unless we are relevant, we will become irrelevant. And the future is here to stay, whether you like it or not. Time is hurtling forward at breakneck speed, and people have to keep abreast with changing times. People are resistant, but then it is high time that we meet the needs of the alpha generation, which are our children, your children, wherever they are. Assessments have to move from examination-based pressure to an innovative collaborative mode. No point competing between individuals. We have to collaborate, we have to innovate, we have to work in teams. Talent lies in teams. Dual schooling and dual degrees for improved personalities. You'll be surprised there are schools in Israel and school children are doing high schooling and they're even doing college and university. Morning they do schooling and in the evening they're doing university. Some of our institutions are doing dual schooling, and we have a startup school for life entrepreneurship where students in a regular school system also study in the afternoons, evenings, and in the weekends at a flexible time schedule. Very exciting design thinking, leadership, climate change competencies that are enhancing their worldview, their mindset, their cognitive ability, their creativity to improve personalities for their academic and career aspirations. And in fact, they are improving their scores also. So why is it important for us to share knowledge, to share ideas? Because it is for the greater common good. It's not about competition. It is about innovation, about collaboration, about working together to co-create and shape schools of tomorrow for children of today. Who are these children? The alpha generation. The age of the Novacene is hurtling towards us. People are talking about the singularity and people can't take this. They're like, no, we don't know what this is all about. But it's happening in all civilizations, different parts of the world. It's trickling in. Now, who are these teachers who are spiritual mentors for us? These can spiritually transform people and society. They are the ones who are self-actualized leaders in an economic world. So yes, we are training and educating people to make money and become rich and live the lavish lifestyle everybody wants to live. But is that the meaning of life? Is that the higher purpose of education? Is that the real calling of a human being or a child or an adult or a teacher? Get rich fast, live the stereotype life and then die? No. I think there's more to life, and we have to be a little more spiritual to understand whatever faith it is that you're believing in, to come to a sort and a consensus of truth that we must unlock the full potential of another human being. Believe in lifelong learning, reading, writing, research, inspire students by being role models, influence a growth mindset in them, prepare students to relearn and reskill. If the teachers, if faculty, if I don't want to relearn, unlearn, then how can I bring about the transformation in somebody else's life? We have to be innovative, develop life competencies, believe in reading, have an entrepreneurial mindset where we can create an ecosystem of jobs and sustenance in our own ecosystems. Look at the climate, and I'm going to talk to you about climate. People are absolutely devoid of this understanding of what climate is all about. Risk takers, yes. Positive, healthy, and happy. How many teachers are positive, really, and healthy and happy? Now, if you're not healthy and happy, how can you make somebody else healthy and happy? How can your children be healthy and happy? You can put on a good front, you can put on a play, but you can't live out a farce all your life. You've got to be mentors, life coaches. We have to be future ready. The innocence, adult is important. As much as innocence of children is celebrated, we need to celebrate innocence of adults. We need to have a faith system. We need to learn languages and learn to communicate with each other in a more holistic manner. Qualifications in schools and colleges are becoming obsolete, especially in universities. Long, laborious courses of 4 years and 6 years may not be existing in the future decades. Google, for your example, for your information, for example, has launched new certificate programs that are designed to keep people abreast of the skills gap, to get qualifications in high-paying, high-growth jobs, international job fields, with one noteworthy feature: no college degree necessary. So what happens with this? There's social equitability. People from anywhere can study an online program. Right now it's released online on Coursera for project management, data analytics, and user experience, UX design. There are certification courses, level 1 and 2 for educators. There's Google Innovator, Google Trainer, all kinds of certification programs. This is to enable children, adults, and even senior citizens to find jobs even if you do not have a college degree. They have partnerships with multiple stakeholders, many business companies, industries, and incubation centers who hire their trainees once they complete their certification program. And it's skill-based. It's, of course, a rigorous course, 3 to 6 months, usually 6 months long, with over 100 assignments per program. They have good guides and personalized learning. It's all online. Cost is only $240. Google is offering 100,000 need-based scholarships in the US. So qualifications in schools and colleges are going to be dual qualifications. People will study in a school, they study in a university, or they'll study in a school and study Google certification. They'll study here and they'll probably do some work, some internships on the side. And teachers are also going to be keeping abreast with the change. Probably faculty members will also be keeping abreast with this change in reforms. And a very important situation of climate change, which is also the future. When we talk about the future paradigm, we have to look at climate change. We have to look at the natural vagaries. Right now, as we speak, we are going through a rather severe pandemic across the world, COVID-19, which has caused mass human extinction. There could be natural calamities and national rifts between countries because of this. There are changes in the Earth's climate because of fossil fuels, greenhouse gases that increase temperature. Who talks about this? Is it really talked about in a serious way? There's going to be political refugees, yes, because of whatever policies, flawed policies. But there's going to be a situation where we have climate refugees. Earthquakes, typhoons, cyclones, all this, human-earth interactions. The official NASA website for climate change has shown the trend of temperature rise over the past 100, 200 years. And there's a steady increase in global temperatures. Is this a situation we should worry about for the future? Yes. Why? Because of global warming, there could be a permanent climate change due to increasing temperature. There will be rise of sea level, melting polar ice caps, extreme weather, including droughts and floods, disruption of the water cycle, depletion of the forest cover, reduction of the ozone layer. That's not okay. Ocean climates, stress on agriculture, increased heat stress causing mortality and severe economic losses. Severe economic losses. That's why climate change is important. It's got to be taught in schools. How do we teach it in schools? How can faculty members work with organizations in combating climate change in their local ecosystems? Because when we talk about the Novacene, yes, it's intelligent machines, but what about climate collapse? Aren't we concerned of that? We have to coexist with artificial intelligence, yes. A global ecosystem of adults, yes. Machines, yes. Nature, yes. And natural vagaries, definitely. We have to cope with it. And we have to prepare to enable our children to cope in a very uncertain, chaotic climatic environment in the future. And if we control the situation now, that's for our own good. It's good. It is for the good of children, for the good of the human civilization. We need to reduce carbon footprinting. This is something that really needs to be taught to the faculty. It can be highly individualized and personalized. So we look at carbon footprinting. How do we reduce it? There's an entire research study on Google. You can study that and look at how you can reduce that. Plant trees. Without trees, you don't have oxygen. Best things in nature are free. Air, water. Sustainable energy. Let's look at that. We need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Use of green AI. We need to teach this to the industries. Our students should take up activism based on this. And a lot of the alpha generation are very concerned about plastics and recycling and using the right kind of green solar energy. And, they're looking at how they can plant trees and nurture the environment, animals and birds, very concerned. They have a high levels of empathy, even more than the adults. It's time for us to introspect and look at the concept of climate change very seriously. Let's have a new curriculum that deals with life entrepreneurship and sustainable development. Do some climatology studies, have some conservation projects and groups in schools. Alternative energy sources can be used in educational institutions, yes. In industries and factories, yes. We can have applied research on this, study tours, conferences. Look at the United Nations climate change, UN SDG goal 13. A lot of exciting development is possible even through entrepreneurship with regards to climate change. If we only awaken the sleeping giant that is in all of us to combat this threat for the future. Of course, a rather scary future is that about global societies out of cultural, ethnic, and sort of a severe impact. And the magnitude of the impact is because of the greed for resources, land, power, commerce, e-commerce, finance, due to religious intolerance or ignorance, corrupt governments that makes unjust policies, locally or nationally or internationally. Are we trying to say human beings have lesser value than money, or money has more value than human beings, living beings? We need to imagine a better future, because if not, we'll be doing all kinds of religious activity and duties, but not being able to make an impact for the betterment of people around us. And there's going to be love, yes. There's going to be hate, yes. Coexisting. There's going to be war for love and love for war. The funny thing is they say all is fair in love and war. History repeats itself. The paradigm shifts show trends of World War I and World War II. People are not sure whether there will be a World War III, because if that happens, there'll be a nuclear holocaust. Sometimes ignorance is not bliss. This has to be taught to students, and we have to go and do research, look at reference scriptures, whichever reference scripture you believe in, to understand where is the end? Is there going to be an end? Even if there is, there's got to be a new beginning, because an end is only a start to new beginnings. Time is on a linear scale, but in eternal time scales, there is no end to time. Infinity is a real phenomenon. We are not there. Whatever seen is temporary, whatever unseen is eternal. So the reader should understand, when the abomination that causes desolation is near, we have to keep our eyes and ears to the ground and mull over the society and the civilization and the children that we are teaching are going to rapidly hurtle into a future which is unknown. So we have to co-create and shape the environment in order to prevent some situation that may not be very good for everybody. Fiction or reality, future civilizations, say 100 years from now, 200, 300, 500, we don't know. Let's assume an ideal environment, a good, a positive environment. These future civilizations, to the best of my knowledge, will be more racially acceptable, accepting of each other, and ethnically diverse than what we live in today. And they will be better than their previous generations with better governance and commerce. There will be better policies, better, everything will be much better, bigger and better. Civilizationals will have global mobility without national boundaries. Future generations will be integrated, materially endowed. There won't be a lack anywhere. And a technologically literate generation to grace the planet. They will live in peace. And subsequent generations will probably create a completely new civilization on Earth, water, and in space. Fiction or reality? Going back to the garden sounds good, and humans, animals, and birds and marine life will coexist, not so much work. And we will add value in a cashless, rich, peaceful society with rich natural resources. The idiosyncrasies of the utopian may become a reality if we just have faith and we keep pushing forward, right kind of motivation. I think we can all get there. A lot of research has gone into this to understand from time to eternity and the eschatology and the entire chronology of time, sequence, and events in the religious and scriptural context of theology. I won't go there, but in case you're interested, you can look this up and look at the mind, body, soul, spirit, and how we bridge realms and times, and whether that is true or not. It is for you to decide. Thank you very much, and I sincerely appreciate the time given to me to unravel future paradigms and education. Thank you, and over to Siddharth.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us with what the future looks like. I mean, yes, of course, as much as it looks scary, but it is definitely an eye-opener for all of us to understand that how do we head on to ensure that each one of us are able to secure not only our future, but more as to the future of our children to whom we deal and interact. And as adults, we are responsible for them. So thank you very much, sir, once again. And
most welcome. I'm open to any questions. If anybody has questions,
yes, absolutely. So the forum is open now for Q&A. Participants are requested to unmute themselves and come up with questions if you would like to ask Dr. Moses.
I may not have all the answers. I've only put forward certain hypothetical scenarios, which I think a majority will become a reality, and we have to keep abreast with changing times. That being the summary, education system has to change. And I'm open to queries and answering those queries, or answering emails and queries through your director in the future. Thank you.
Maybe you can go
Sir, can I ask a question?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Sir, actually, this robotics and artificial intelligence, why it is not embedded in these curriculums, nowadays curriculums? It's still in the part of, the basics.
Now, robotics in education has always been a club as part of advanced sciences. There are experimental kits, and scientific temperament is built through some practical experimentation in laboratories or incubation centers that create these scientific kits to give a practical reality of a demonstration that would probably be more relational to the children for them to understand what it's all about. But it is a club activity. It is a co-curricular activity. But the advent of artificial intelligence and robots teaching in classrooms is the age of the Novacene. It is not yet in many schools. Why is it not a part of the curriculum? Because a couple of reasons. It's not available. Management does not believe in it, or resources are limited, or maybe they don't have the priority to do it or implement it at the moment. They'll probably think about it in the later stages of the growth of the school and the institution. Parents don't believe it. Teachers don't believe it. Teachers don't want to work with robots and artificial intelligence. Children are probably more accustomed to one-on-one faculty and teachers teaching the textbook, and the subject seems to be living within that comfort zone and the bubble, and we don't want to change, and we don't want to do things differently. It's not about doing things differently. It's about doing different things that makes you a good innovator. So it's time to make that change.
Thank you, sir. We have a question in the chat box also. One teacher is asking how, as we teachers, can cope up with the upcoming changes.
Now, as teachers, how can we cope up with upcoming changes? Number one, keeping abreast with changing times is essential, because times and people shape times, and times shape people. Times and civilizational times shape people and cultures. And as educators, we need to understand that Anthropocene to Novacene is the reality, even in education systems. Age of singularity and hurtling of thought processes of machine learning and thinking is going to happen. So if you allow machines to take over in certain parts of the world, they will probably get ahead of the human race. We need to be disruptive enough to control artificial intelligence. Otherwise, it will control us. So the sublime factor of coexisting with machines is that you first need to understand that living with machines is essential to whatever extent you can be comfortable with. And we need to introduce this in our schools. And we can keep abreast by reading, by research, by networking, by talking, by conferencing, by becoming technology minded. Tech savvy is different from being tech minded. You may be tech savvy, but you may not be technological minded. You may not want this in your institution or where you work. And you may be technology minded like me, but not really tech savvy like me. I mean, I'm learning, But I know some people who are tech savvy and tech minded. The alpha kids, how old are they? 12 years old. Are they better than me? Yes, they are. Many ways.
Dr.
We
Moses,
abreast
Dr.
with
Mr.
children.
Nazim,
Yes.
can I speak with your permission, sir?
Yes,
Please.
ma'am. Please.
Absolutely, go ahead.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, ma'am.
Host is allowing me to open my video. Let me check. Hello, Dr. Moses. I'm Sanchita Verma. I'm principal of Indian School Sohar. And I loved attending this futuristic talk and various things related to AI, which you told us. I have got one humble submission, because when you said the management is reluctant to it, or the teachers are reluctant to it, or we don't want to teach. Don't you think as a school we are tightly bonded by a very, very rigid curriculum? So
Absolutely.
it should, rather than management to be very accepting or the teachers to be implementing it, it should come from the people who frame the curriculum. And
That's
I would
right.
like to inform all my teacher fraternity that recently we all attended a lot of training sessions with AI and a multidisciplinary approach to be followed. And now I'm sure after that, those training sessions, teachers know a lot of AI tools. But I feel people who make policy should be futuristic like you.
Absolutely, I just said that.
Then only we can see a change in the education.
Absolutely, the curriculum accrediting boards need to shift from competitive assessment and curriculum accreditation for competitive curriculum or competitive examinations to innovation. Once it moves to innovation, automatically they will be in a position to sanction artificial intelligence advent in schools, which makes children more creative and enables alpha generation to live comfortably because they are digital natives. We may be digital immigrants, but they are digital natives. So that is why curriculum and accrediting boards, public policy, and tertiary systems, governance systems in managing schools and giving accreditation of curriculum to schools, whichever curriculum board it is, must look at the future with positivity and not suspicion, and not with resentment, distance. If you're open-minded,
so much.
then I think they're open-minded enough. I think we can shape that culture. It is probably bottom-up than top-down. They're not probably thinking about it or not aware of it. So awareness is important and knowledge is power. And education is the best tool we can use to change the world.
So I think the key response to something similar questions which we are having in the chat box is about awareness. There are teachers who are asking that when do we happen to see this coming into the CBSE curriculum, the CBSE systems, and what are the essential training the teacher needs to undergo and get ready for the same. So I guess awareness is something which we need to really work upon. I mean, to get ourselves aware, to get ourselves aware, to get the people in surrounding around us aware, and by and large try to make it a part of our routine so that we get to learn more about it and get more aware. We have a few more questions. One says that it was mentioned in the presentation that school will have to teach what Google cannot teach. So does that mean we as educators will teach them more of life skill rather than teaching them subject specific curriculum content?
Yes, in the future, curriculum content, that is physics, chemistry, and biology, will be conduits to teaching competencies and not the other way around. Right now, competencies, creativity, and critical thinking, and the competencies that build innovation are not taught in schools. Basically, what we are teaching them is memorization and competitive subject orientation that prepare them for limited career choices. But the Davos report is showing 46% of jobs which are related to one field are going to be outdated. It's going to be interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary domains out there in the market. The Google certifications are bringing creativity in digital marketing and design, projects and architecture and all that, online architecture. So what is going to happen is the subjects that we teach today, physics, chemistry, biology, were taught 500 years ago. Really, they were. Not much change has taken place. Universities and colleges students, they're doing dual degrees and dual qualifications, better subject combinations and electives, but schools have to drastically look at this curriculum and teaching subjects. Is it enough? Is it really making the child more cognitively, I would say, aware of what spiritual realizations and higher order thinking and purpose and self-actualization is all about? Giving them that edge, competitive edge over machines, giving them the language skills and the personality skills to work and coexist with machines. Are they making them life entrepreneurs, or are they just putting them in a job which they may not be satisfied with in the end? Is it basically just to earn revenue, or is it going to make them self-actualize and make them entrepreneurs where they themselves can start their own business? So schools are teaching subjects at the moment, which is fine. There's been tremendous changes in curriculum upgradation to whatever extent is possible, but it is not enough. And schools need to teach what Google cannot teach. Otherwise, students can learn what Google can teach. They can go to Dr. Google and Google up content and subject-specific information, and they want teachers to teach them about higher purpose and self-actualization and develop their holistic abilities as all-round human beings.
Thank you. And I also feel that relativeness and individualization is also going to be a key element that the teachers will have to keep their focus on.
Yes.
There's a lot of things which might be very generic out there, and students of this young age might struggle to make it as relative and as important to their own selves. Thank you. So in the spirit of time, we will take one last question from the chat box, and we will try and see if some of these questions could then be answered over an email. One question says that though AI is not in the curriculum, how more effective we can implement AI or the AI tools while teaching, and to involve the students as well. And are we looking at some advanced level of AI training?
Now, certain curriculum or certain curricula introduce computer studies and computer sciences and ITGS, and certain IB or IGCSE or CBSE, ICSE do have certain basic computational skills taught to students, and it's not necessarily using artificial intelligence, because I think artificial intelligence enables capacity to be innovative. Now, to be innovative is different from being, I would say, objective in using computers. Or that's basic. That's very basic. It develops these basic skills in coding and competitive hackathons and all that. That's pretty good in learning computer languages and in teaching them about PowerPoint presentations or even statistics and how to do mathematical modeling using computational languages. All that is good, but I think how do we introduce AI in the curriculum is by bringing in the age of the Novacene in the classroom, where we have an evolution of man-machine interface. In the past, there were desktops in the classroom that enabled a certain amount of creativity in the faculty. And audiovisual learning enabled better learning among the children. It moved from the desktop to the laptop, then from the laptop to the presentation screen, and then the smart board. Then we have the LED screens. And then we have interactive technology, AR, VR, that is augmented, and virtual reality, and all these platforms have come in. So mixed reality systems where we bring in artificial intelligence in the classroom beyond the laptop and presentation screen, bring in teaching robots, bring in the concept of Internet of Things. Let children coexist with these machines. Let the faculty teach using these technologies in order to enhance the creativity, the learning capacities, the cognitive capacities of the children, because we are not talking to children who are alien to this development. They are already alpha kids. They're already ahead of us with technology. It's time we keep pace with them, because they'll be comfortable. It's not about children. It's not about the technology. It's about the faculty. And we have to not be resistant towards change. We have to be open-minded, and we have to embrace that reality and change. because AI is disruptive innovation. And when we talk about disruptive innovation, boy, it creates a lot of hardships in the mind. It's a cultural change. So we have to slowly and steadily go ahead with it and allow the generation to progress, keeping in mind we need to use it ethically and be mindful of the advantages. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And we have a few more questions, and I apologize for not being answered at the moment. We will try our best to reach out to all of you in terms of your queries, and we'll send out a response to you over this email. We've also recorded this session for future reference. We'll also be sharing out this with all of you, just in case if some of you have not been able to attend, this recording will be available. So as we come to the end of this session, I would request Avni ma'am to take this forward. Over to you, Avni ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so thank you very much, Dr. Moses. As we end the session today, it is my privilege that I've been asked to propose the vote of thanks on the occasion of this event. On behalf of SATAL and the entire fraternity of the management here, I extend a very hearty gratitude to our speaker for gracing your crucial work and sharing with us your opinion today. Your presentation helped us not only understand the future of education, but also reflect on our current educational practices. I'm sure that all the participants have benefited by coming here, and it indeed was a very fruitful, engaging, and insightful session. I also would like to deeply thank Mr. Nazim Qureshi for organizing and coordinating this wonderful session for us. Lastly, I would like to extend my wholehearted gratitude to our dear principals from the Indian School Wadi Kabir, Indian School Wadi Kabir International, and the Indian School Sohar, Mr. Rao, Mr. Sanjay Tiwari, and Ms. Sanchita Verma, and all our dear teachers who made time from their busy schedules and actively participated in the session today. Thank you all once again. We hope to see you all soon with another interesting and engaging session. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and wish you all the very best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.